Australia's relationship with the United States is tonight stronger than ever. The Prime Minister and President's first face-to-face meeting at the White House hailed a success.
Hello, welcome to Media Watch. I'm Linton Besser. And first tonight, the heaping of praise upon a Prime Minister, a red-letter day that will be savoured by Anthony Albanese for a long time to come.
Albanese hits critical mass.
Trump triumph. PM's out of the deal.
Signing a critical minerals deal and obtaining Donald Trump's full-throated support for the AUKUS submarine pact was the ultimate told you so for a Labor PM persistently criticised for his handling of the alliance and Washington's mercurial leader.
Anthony Albanese feeling the love, a pat on the back before a personal tour of the Oval Office, then shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump in the cabinet room, getting this presidential spiel of approval.
I think he's doing a really good job and we've had a very good relationship.
In the run-up to the meeting, several commentators had been rubbing their hands at the prospect of Trump carving up Albo in front of the cameras, like shock jock Ray Hadley.
We sat there with some sense of anticipation, wondering whether Donald would line up Albo and just give it to him.
Only for the harmony in Washington to leave him spinning.
No. It was lavish praise coming from the American president about our nation, but more particularly about our Prime Minister and what a good bloke he is.
For months, pundits have peered under the hood of the US-Australia alliance under Albanese and found little but blown gaskets, like 2GB's Mark Levy.
There's no doubt that Anthony Albanese is on a collision course, whether he likes it or not, with Donald Trump.
And Channel 9's Breakfast Prince.
And I can't comprehend how the president, given how close allies we have been with the US for so long, couldn't give a rat's about meeting with you.
But few could compare with the ultimate horseman of the apocalypse, the Australian's foreign editor, Greg Sheridan, who despaired of Albanese's focus on China.
The Albanese government may be fatally undermining the long-term viability of our US alliance.
And despaired of Albanese's lack of focus on Trump.
Anthony Albanese has not even met Trump and doesn't seem to want to go to Washington and perform in the Oval Office. A failure to develop any relationship at all is akin to criminal negligence.
A month ago, Sheridan was banging that same old drum on Sky News.
This is a comprehensive mismanagement of the critically important US relationship by Anthony Albanese.
A notion of which he was rather fond, running it in print the next day and again a week later. But when Albo arrived home a rock star, diplomatic coup in hand, Greg Sheridan was very noble, giving the PM his due credit.
I reckon this is about a 9 out of 10. This was a very big mission accomplished. Albanese deserves credit.
Kevin 07, our man in Washington, had also been under scrutiny, not least because he'd once described Trump as a traitor and the most destructive president in history. The former ABC chairman, Maurice Newman, for example, claimed Kevin Rudd was undermining the US alliance. And 4BC's Gary Hardgrave polished the same note too.
Our ambassador, Kevin Rudd's track record has severely damaged our relationship. I think it's time that Rudd comes home. Kevin, you've done a really crap job.
Which was why, when the Australian press pack poured into Trump's cabinet room, Sky News' Andrew Clennell was absolutely right to ask this.
Have you had any concerns with this administration, with its stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
A godsend for the Rudd-loving tabloids.
Rudd bath!
Opposition leader Susan Lee fell into line and demanded Rudd's recall, a move for which she was chastised by members of her own party and by one of Australia's more sensible watchers of politics.
The coalition has spent too long listening to the populist conservative media that made Rudd a whipping boy all year and implied his mere presence would doom any successful Trump-Albanese meeting.
And as for that populist conservative media and its obsession with Albo's handling of Trump, Paul Kelly had these choice words.
For this media, Trump was their hero. Albanese was their demon. They fantasised about Trump putting Albanese in his place and teaching him a lesson. Anybody believing them has been deceived, including the coalition.
Forget political parties, it's the deception of readers that worries us. Because while it was entirely proper to examine what was causing a delay of this most crucial meeting, some of our fine colleagues in the press have so misread the tea leaves, it might be worth pausing to ponder why. And now to an electronics company blowing minds with flying robots, cameras and wireless microphones. Chinese company DJI has become one of the world's leading consumer technology brands. It also manufactures power banks, which one Australia-based YouTuber was keen to test on a remote four-wheel drive adventure.
I received an email from DJI asking me whether I would be interested reviewing their Power 1000 V2 portable power bank.
Since his retirement 8 years ago, 58-year-old Stefan Fischer has built up a loyal following, now of more than 70,000 subscribers, by publishing video reviews of equipment essential for remote 4x4 expeditions across this great brown land. From awnings to tyres to, yes, power banks. So how did DJI's power bank perform during Stefan's rigorous testing? Turns out we'll never know.
I was also quite excited because the email came directly from DJI. However, what happened next was eye-opening.
Because once Stefan indicated to DJI that he was interested in reviewing its new power bank, the company sent him an extraordinary sequence of emails, starting with an offer of a free power bank worth about $1,000 and $800 in cold cash, but also requesting he submit a preview to the company before publishing and setting out what should go in his review, including a list of required elements.
It read more like a promotional brief than a standard independent review brief.
DJI's influencer marketing specialist also made it clear she expected results.
We kindly request the video content to focus on the positive aspects of the product. Please avoid including any negative mentions or critiques.
In fact, DJI is rather fond of secrecy, it seems, because it also emailed the YouTuber a non-disclosure agreement, which sought to gag him from ever telling anyone about the negotiations taking place between him and the company, or indeed the existence of that very document. Fischer rebuffed DJI's money and its plea for secrecy, describing the NDA as a transparency violation and also offering this sharp observation.
I must say, hearing these terms makes me question every DJI review I've watched from other content creators.
Stefan, you're no Robinson Crusoe. We asked DJI's influencer marketing team to point out where else on the internet it might have been busy passing envelopes under tables. But it told us in a display of dictionary definition chutzpah that it does not and never would require content creators to withhold negative feedback. Which marries most neatly with an email the company sent to Stefan Fischer explaining that in light of his refusal to take its money and sign its secrecy deal, it would have to pass up the opportunity of his YouTube review in order to avoid negative mentions.
We really don't always know what kind of agreement might exist, what kind of payment reviewers receive, and what they are or aren't permitted to say.
Believe it or not, there are laws in Australia which require online influencers to declare commercial relationships, which, as this YouTuber actually warned DJI, casts an even deeper shadow over the company's conduct. Once upon a time, consumer reviews were the wheelhouse of titanic media companies, so rich and powerful that tough, uncompromising reviews were commonplace. But those days are gone, and we're now left to fend for ourselves in a wilderness of online reviews, the integrity of which can almost never be taken for granted. And finally, a warning tonight of an epidemic of weary children sweeping the nation.
School-aged children are becoming increasingly weary, forcing parents to turn to unconventional methods.
With 7 News in both its afternoon and evening bulletins sounding the alarm.
We know how important it is to get a good night's sleep, but almost half of our children aren't.
I went to Mummy and Daddy's bed.
And revealing parents who, let's face it, are the ones who really need a lie-in, are reaching for help of a very specific kind.
Using alternatives like supplements, the key sleep ingredient, chamomile.
That's when we, look to Swisse and vitamins and gummies.
Lucky for us, that friendly multinational and its friendly local research boss were on hand to help.
Chamomile's well known to reduce restlessness and also relax the nervous system, particularly in children.
So why are we hearing about weary kids now? Because of those alarming new stats, of course.
Health experts say it's becoming a concerning trend with school-aged children.
Difficulty getting to sleep, difficulty staying asleep, or perhaps waking up feeling tired.
All good and well, perhaps, although the poll from which these findings were extracted was hardly news. It was more than 8 months old. And it appears its researchers, including Anthea Rhodes, were never told that their work was being exhumed by Seven to plug a $15 jar of lollies.
It's not our practice to endorse brands or products, and we would encourage parents to start with good sleep hygiene habits before considering other methods.
We asked paediatric sleep expert Associate Professor Jasneek Chawla what evidence exists to say chamomile really does help kids sleep. Alas.
Sadly, none. There are no scientific studies in children, as far as I know, that show objective benefits from chamomile extract for sleep.
It's one thing for Swisse to market its gummies as traditionally used herbal medicine, but news networks plugging quack therapies is another thing entirely.
This kind of promotion just fuels a commercial industry for non-evidence-based products. Essentially, they are promoting a placebo and giving parents false hope.
False hope for parents, real hope for the Swisse sales team. So, was this advertising dressed up as news? Seven assured us
this was not advertorial content or a paid segment. This story was of high interest to parents, many of whom have been following the national conversation about melatonin and children's sleep products.
Not advertorial, perhaps, but not journalism either. So how to explain it? In fact, it seems plain as day to us that this nonsense television package was part of a make-piece with a valuable advertiser, after 7 News cocked up in royal fashion, publishing this last month.
There's a new warning for parents tonight, with record calls to the Poisons hotline about children taking too much melatonin, a popular product to assist sleep.
It was in late September, when sleep supplements were in the news for all the wrong reasons, that Seven broadcast its howler.
Blueberry, vanilla and raspberry flavoured gummies. These supplements look like lollies, but they're actually medicine to help you sleep.
Yes, there are those Swisse sleep gummies again, smack bang in the middle of Seven's melatonin warning. But as we know, the Swisse candies have, as their magic ingredient, chamomile, not melatonin. Oh dear. And after Swisse got on the blower to complain, the following night, Seven ran this important update.
Supplement makers are tonight reassuring customers that products available in Australia to help children and adults fall asleep don't contain the risky ingredient melatonin, which is banned here without prescription.
You won't find any Swisse product that has melatonin in it.
Which is the opposite of what Seven had told viewers the night before, and which the network somehow forgot to mention. Still, Seven insists its update really did constitute a proper acknowledgement of its boo-boo.
We made an error, and we owned it swiftly by correcting the information on air because accuracy matters to us and to our highly engaged audience.
Gets better though, because the Swisse PR team happily explained it went back to Seven for another bite of the cherry, pitching a charming follow-up news package of tired parents and yawning kids, which Seven paired with 8-month-old stats. And voila, the puff piece about chewy pretend medicines for tiny tots. Or, as the Swisse reputation executive explained,
I told them we had been getting concerned calls from parents after the news about melatonin. I suggested this story would be a good clarification.
Seven was good enough to remind us not to look down our nose at these kind of things.
Consumer reports are an essential part of our news coverage every night at 6 p.m, just as important as the international reporting we cover from our correspondents in conflict zones, and should be recognised as such by the ABC.
Consider them so recognised. What we fail to recognise, however, is a decision by Seven's news bosses that, rather than simply confessing a mistake, they'd promote the flimsy health claims of a multi-billion-dollar multinational, deserving of not quite the same celebration as combat reports from conflict zones. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView as well as YouTube, Facebook and X. You can find full statements on our website, and don't forget to send us your tips. I'll see you next week.